place. You gonna bleed either way, partner.
The story opens with a high school student named Tommy Riley. For some reason, he is forced to move and begin a new life with his father. However, their new home is located in a rundown neighborhood where gangs operate openly. A gang member directly threatens him.
It's a black game, home. Y'all don't want your whiteness shoving through my hoops.
On Tommy's first day at the new school, a group of local youths tries to provoke him. Worse still, the three bullies who had targeted him before are in the same class as the new student. Tommy does not want any trouble, so when the three demand that he change seats 3 times, he complies each time. But on the 4th time, when they insist he move again, his patience begins to run out. This time, even though they order him to leave, Tommy remains seated, visibly irritating the bullies. Just as a fight is about to break out, the teacher enters and orders everyone to take their seats. Although the bullies threaten to deal with Tommy during recess, he ignores them.
All right, take off that hat and sit down.
I'll get you on the greasy side.
During recess, the bullies confront Tommy again, this time bringing along their whole group of friends. However, he escapes the situation once more when another gang intervenes in the standoff. The hostility between the gangs is a serious issue at the school, and fights occur regularly. Just like today, when the leaders of the two gangs clash directly in front of many students. One of them does not hesitate to pull out a sharp object during the confrontation. But before a winner can be determined, the teacher appears and stops the fight. As if the pressure at school were not enough, Tommy also faces debt collectors when he returns home. In fact, the reason he and his father had to move here is that his father had accumulated a massive gambling debt after Tommy's mother passed away. Now, because of his father's mistake, Tommy must face 2 debt collectors who show up at the house with guns in hand. Fortunately, they do not harm him. They only issue a threat that his father must pay the debt that has been overdue for 2 weeks. Late that night, Tommy is awakened by the sound of his father coming home. His father still treats him kindly and asks about his first day at the new school. At this moment, Tommy chooses to lie and say everything is fine, but his father does not believe him. He senses that the boy is hiding something. Tommy has no choice but to tell him that the 2 debt collectors had visited the house that afternoon. Upon hearing this, his father becomes extremely saddened. He realizes that his mistakes have shattered both of their lives. He promises Tommy that he will fix everything and adds that he has found a high-paying job in another city, a job that will allow him to pay off all the debts and improve their financial situation. On the other hand, Tommy has no problem living alone for a while, since he is mature enough to take care of himself anyway. To help ease his father's burden, he takes a dishwashing job at a local restaurant run by the parents of a classmate. However, one evening, the school bullies unexpectedly appear at the restaurant. As soon as they recognize Tommy working there, they decide to finish what they started. At first, Tommy tries to endure their provocations, but when he is shoved to the floor and mocked with stupid grins, he can no longer tolerate it. He immediately jumps up and knocks out 2 of them with quick, clean punches. As he prepares to face the last one, an unfamiliar old man suddenly steps in and intervenes, ending the brawl. It turns out the man is Pappy Jack, a boxing promoter in the area. He says he is very impressed with the way Tommy fights and offers him a chance to participate in an illegal underground boxing match. Pappy Jack is willing to pay $600, but Tommy immediately refuses. Tommy demands $1,000 for the match, and if Jack does not accept, he will find someone else who will agree to the lower price. After a tense negotiation, Jack finally accepts Tommy's terms. They shake hands in front of Dawn, the daughter of the restaurant owners. The next night, Tommy arrives at the secret fight venue, where Jack introduces him to Noah. Noah will take on the role of trainer and provide for all of Tommy's needs. Noah's first piece of advice is that the upcoming fight is nothing less than a battle for survival. There is no fairness in the ring because no one cares about it. In addition, Tommy will face Black Death, a fighter notorious for his dirty style. Coincidentally, Tommy runs into his classmate Romano. Romano is shocked to learn that Tommy is facing Black Death in his very first match. He warns Tommy to be especially wary of the opponent's right-hand punch. Remembering that advice, Tommy steps into the ring. The entire crowd bets on Black Death's victory and cheers loudly as the fighter enters the ring. Noah was right from the moment the fight begins. Black Death uses dirty tactics. He drives an elbow into Tommy, causing the boy's temple to bleed. Not stopping there, he lands a powerful punch to Tommy's groin. Although those actions clearly violate the rules, the referee ignores everything. In this ring, anything is allowed. However, after a while, Black Death begins to tire, giving Tommy the chance to counter with a series of consecutive blows and finally knock out his opponent. Tommy wins, leaving the crowd, the bettors, and even the investors unable to believe their eyes. When Tommy raises his hand in celebration, the audience roars with excitement. The next day, Tommy is called to meet Jack's boss, Jimmy Horn, to collect his pay. However, it is clear that Horn is very impressed with Tommy's performance, so he offers the boy a chance to fight for him again. Tommy flatly refuses, affirming that he only wanted to receive exactly $1,000, no more and no less. On another day, Tommy happens to meet Dawn, and she cannot hide her disappointment upon learning that he has entered the underground fighting world. However, when she hears that he has only fought once, she finally feels relieved. Tommy has no intention of pursuing this path for long, but everything changes when Pappy Jack asks him to meet Horn again that afternoon. After a few polite greetings, Horn reveals the truth: the two debt collectors who had come to Tommy's house work for him. Worse still, Tommy's father has returned to gambling, and the debt has now risen to $15,000. However, Horn offers a simple solution to clear the debt. Tommy only needs to fight a few more times for him. As expected, Tommy accepts the offer to settle his father's debt. On the way back from Horn's place, Tommy accidentally witnesses his classmate Lincoln being suddenly attacked by a gang. Without hesitation, Tommy rushes in to help, but the two are quickly overwhelmed by superior numbers and forced to retreat. After escaping, Tommy and Lincoln talk, and Lincoln reveals that although he is still young, he already has a wife and child. That is also why, like Tommy, he chooses to earn money by fighting in underground boxing matches to support his family. That evening, Tommy decides to watch Lincoln's fight. His new friend is initially dominated by a much larger opponent, but Lincoln eventually turns the situation around quickly and wins. By this point, Tommy can no longer suppress his curiosity about Horn, so after Lincoln's fight, he goes to Noah's house to ask about the man's past. It turns out Horn was once a professional boxer who had even won the World Heavyweight Championship title. Even more astonishing, he had lost only one fight in his entire career. After that defeat, he quickly got revenge in the rematch, leaving his opponent with a permanent injury. However, even a fighter as outstanding as he was forced to retire after suffering a severe leg injury. Although he underwent many surgeries, by the time he fully recovered, his prime years had passed. He was too old to return to the ring, so he turned to promoting boxing matches, a job that brought in large income without the risk of injury. A few days pass since the last time Dawn visited Tommy while he was training. She begins to worry because he has not been coming to school lately. Finally, Tommy shares the family troubles weighing on him and how they have forced him back into the underground boxing world. Fortunately, Dawn understands his situation, and the two gradually grow closer. Tommy's life seems to improve as Dawn accompanies him to events, and they begin to develop feelings for each other. At the same time, he builds close friendships with Romano and Lincoln, who train with him every day. However, tragedy strikes unexpectedly during one of Romano's fights. That night, Romano faces a fighter named Shortcut, who is clearly less skilled than he is. Romano takes the lead from the start, but when the fifth round begins, Shortcut secretly applies a strange substance to his gloves. As the fight continues, he locks Romano in a chokehold, forcing him to inhale the substance. As soon as he is released, Romano's vision blurs and he can no longer fight normally. Shortcut immediately seizes the opportunity and unleashes merciless, brutal blows. Even though Romano is bleeding, he does not stop, as if he is enjoying tormenting his opponent. Standing outside the ring, Tommy witnesses everything and cannot stand it any longer.
Stop the fight!
When the referee shows no intention of intervening, Tommy rushes forward and rings the bell, forcing the fight to stop. But by then, Romano has collapsed unconscious in the corner of the ring. When he returns home, Tommy receives a call from his father, who sounds strangely calm, as if nothing has happened. The next day, Tommy goes to the hospital to visit Romano, but unfortunately the boy remains in a coma. The doctors confirm that he is brain dead. Naturally, Tommy cannot let the person responsible get away with it. The chance for revenge comes when he faces Shortcut in the ring.
How's Romano? Is he dead yet? He dead, ain't he?
Once again, Shortcut tries to use dirty tricks. But this time they have no effect. Tommy decides to respond in kind, landing a punch to the groin that makes his opponent scream in pain. Then he unleashes a relentless barrage of punches. Finally, Tommy ends the fight in the very first round.
Finish him! Finish him!
After losing Romano, Lincoln becomes Tommy's only close friend. But one day, while training, Lincoln suddenly weakens and collapses. It turns out he had taken a hard blow to the head the previous week and is now showing signs of brain damage. The doctor orders him to rest for at least 60 days, or it could lead to permanent injury. However, Horn has other plans for Lincoln. That evening, Tommy is surprised to see the opponent who was supposed to fight him facing someone else. At this moment, Horn reveals his intention. He wants Tommy to fight Lincoln, and Lincoln has agreed. This makes Tommy extremely angry. Given his current condition, Lincoln should not be fighting, and above all, Tommy does not want to lose another friend. But despite all advice, Lincoln is still determined to enter the ring, seeing it as a chance to advance further in his career. The fight day finally arrives and is considered the biggest match in the underground boxing world. However, Tommy is not excited at all, in complete contrast to Lincoln's aggression. As soon as the first round begins, Lincoln charges forward with a barrage of attacks. Meanwhile, Tommy stays on the defensive and does not even counter when he is knocked down. This only makes Lincoln angrier.
If you don't fight, I won't pay! Fight me, I'm gonna hurt you bad!
During the break after the second round, Horn takes Dawn hostage and threatens Tommy that if he does not fight seriously, he will harm her. But Tommy still refuses to hit Lincoln, because a punch to the head at this point could take his friend's life. Finally, to appease Horn and the crowd, Tommy throws a single punch and then tries to convince Lincoln to stop. Lincoln responds by hitting him in the head. At that moment, Tommy prepares to fight with full force, but Lincoln suddenly realizes the truth and decides to stop the fight before it is too late. Horn flies into a rage, storms into the ring, and demands that Lincoln continue the match. However, Lincoln refuses and declares that he will never fight for Horn again. This decision causes Horn to lose control. He punches Lincoln in the head, sending the boy flying out of the ring. Witnessing everything, Tommy can no longer stand it. He steps into the ring and challenges Horn. If Tommy wins, his father's entire debt will be wiped out, but if he loses, he will have to work for Horn for the rest of his life. Horn agrees but adds the condition that the fight will take place without gloves. With the experience of a former champion, Horn dominates and continuously mocks Tommy in the early stages. However, that very arrogance becomes his fatal weakness. Tommy quickly adapts and begins to counter. First, he deliberately lets Horn land a hit so that the man's fingers break. Then he continues to provoke Horn to make him lose his composure. Finally, Tommy pretends that his right hand is broken, causing his opponent to drop his guard. At the right moment, he delivers a powerful punch to Horn's face and follows with a continuous barrage that knocks the man down. With Horn's defeat, Tommy and his father are finally free of the debt. The movie comes to an end. Thank you for following.